You've been in commercial real estate brokerage there in New York for many, many years, since 1984, and you've certainly seen a lot of cycles and what's happening in various cycles. What do you expect to see for transaction volume moving forward in 2025?
Well, Michael, it's a great question. I think we are headed into unprecedented times in New York, and I would imagine that's probably the case in other markets around the country. But what I will tell you is that, I was on CNBC back in February, and I said at the time that in 2025, we would have the biggest sell off in the history of New York City. A lot of people gave me a lot of grief for saying that, doubted it. In fact, if you looked at the first quarter activity this year, sales volume was essentially flat from last year. After the second quarter, volume was tracking to be up about 30% from last year. After the third quarter, it was tracking to be up about 60% from last year. And I believe that by the end of this year, volume will be up 80 to 90% over last year. And I think what we're going to have in 2025 is, for the first time ever in the history of New York, we are going to have two sectors of the market very, very robustly competing at the same time. And that's going to be a group of discretionary sellers and a group of non-discretionary sellers. We've never had that happen simultaneously. Normally, in good times, you have discretionary sellers that are taking advantage of the market. In bad times, you have non-discretionary sellers that have to sell. And today, because this correction has been so different from any of the other four major corrections that we've had in New York, where every property type was going down in value just to different degrees, today we have different product sectors are moving in different directions at the same time. We have our retail sector, industrial, land, and hotels are actually doing really, really well. And so folks that have been wanting to sell over the past several years but haven't been able to will finally be able to sell. And then we have sectors like the multifamily sector and the B and C office sector here that are really challenged, where we'll have a lot of folks who have no choice but will have to sell because they won't either have the capital to effectuate a cash-in refi, or will choose not to put that fresh capital in. So we've never had this dynamic before. So I think it's really going to be an unbelievably robust year in terms of transaction volume next year.